Today is June 30th and my subscription has arrived. Let's take a look. Your monthly subscription is here. Yay! You acquire an item, Yeti in a travel cooler. Yeti in a travel cooler. Some people think the coolers are the Yetis' eggs, while others believe that the Yetis are actually automatons made of well-insulated plastic. Hatches into Cooler Yeti. Type familiar, cannot be discarded, free pull from Hanks. Where's the uncool Yeti? Or the warm Yeti? Let's put it into the terrarium. You put the Yeti in a travel cooler in your familiar grow terrarium. He finds a nice cool spot in the shade and hangs out looking cool and cool. A little redundant there. You decide to name him Hyperborean Lambert. Take him with you right now. Sure. A cool attitude, a literally cold heart, furry biped pal. +1 cold resistance per 11 pounds. Cool your drinks on demand, increases item drops from monsters, weakens enemies. So +1 cold resistance is going to fit really nicely with the Burr brand mouthwash, so you can level up faster. Cool your drinks on demand though. Interesting. So on the left I notice that there's a chat link. I'm going to click on that. Oh! You look over at your Cooler Yeti and make a request. Make my next drink impossibly cold, costs 400 familiar experience once per day. Can you make me look cool while I drink something, costs 225 familiar experience. Didn't you work at that cool ice bar, costs 100 familiar experience. Would you kick my next drink up a notch, costs 25 familiar experience. Well, asking if we can always be friends is free, so I guess I'll do that first. Hyperborean Lambert looks at you in a cool, endearing way and gives you a big thumbs up. That's cute. Okay, so right now I have enough experience for didn't you work at that cool ice bar? Hyperborean Lambert rests his chin in his hand, looking thoughtful for a moment. Then he smiles brightly, closes his eyes for a moment, then clasps his hands together before throwing his arms out wide. He grins as a frigid haze fills the air and quickly dissipates, revealing a bar made of ice. Hyperborean Lambert stands behind it and looks at you. What does that mean? What happens if I chat again? He's busy with his bar. Oh, and I can't leave. Okay. A little less cute when I have to do it. If I were a giant ice bar, where would I be? Is it on the map? No one knows. Little Canada. No, it's not Little Canada. Okay, I give up. I have no idea where this guy's ice bar is. He's busy with his bar. What does that mean? And I can't leave. Okay, let's see what his familiar equipment is. You shake the box of familiar jacks at Hyperborean Lambert, who rips the box open and throws all the popcorn, peanuts, and whatnot on the ground looking for the prize. You acquire an item, Cold Exchanger. This little device will allow your Cooler Yeti to more efficiently collect coldness from the environment. Don't let those dorks tell you that coldness isn't actually a thing. It's obviously a thing. +10 cold damage, +10 damage to cold spells, +3 to familiar weight. He's still busy with his bar. I'm really regretting asking him about his bar. Maybe I can try drinking something? Okay, from behind his ice bar, just as it starts to melt, Hyperborean Lambert flips around some bottles theatrically and then tosses you a bottle and a mixer. So his bar is not a location. It just hangs out until you drink something. That was confusing. Well, let's try some other things. Would you kick my next drink up a notch? Let's try that. Hyperborean Lambert holds up an icy blue hand, leans in, and slowly breathes out onto his palm. A perfectly round, flawless ice cube forms in his hand. He gestures that he's ready to plop it into your next drink. As you're about to drink, Hyperborean Lambert grabs your drink and plops in his flawless ice cube. This is going to be an experience. See, I'm going to have to check the wiki. Do I normally get experience when I drink this? Maybe? So what the wiki tells me is that, yes, all of these stats are probably from either the Cincho skill, it's probably from the Cincho skill, but it could also be from the Flawless Ice Cube. It's tough to say. Can you make me look cool while I drink something? Hyperborean Lambert holds his left hand out in front of him as though holding a phantom cocktail glass. He places his right hand on top, and as he slowly lifts it up, as his right hand raises, a cup made of ice forms in his left. He holds it towards you expectantly. Before you can drink, Hyperborean Lambert grabs your drink and puts it into his cool ice cup. Okay, so I gained stats, but a lot fewer stats. Wow, you look very cool now. You acquire an effect, looking cool, duration 25 adventures. When you look this cool, the world just drops everything in your lap, plus 30% item drops from monsters, plus 30% meat from monsters. That's nice. Hyperborean Lambert holds up 2 thumbs and encourages your foes to be cool. Monster attack power reduced by 26, monster defense reduced by 26. Hyperborean Lambert lowers the temperature on this battle. Hyperborean Lambert emanates coldness, and your foe chills out a bit. Okay, I'm gonna try it. Make my next drink impossibly cold, once per day. Hyperborean Lambert smiles at you and waves his hand around in front of his chest about 12 inches apart from each other. A small cooler made of ice forms between his hands. He mimes placing something in the cooler, then shaking it, opening it, and shotgunning it. He holds the cooler and gives you a thumbs up. So my cooler yeti is currently about 40 pounds, so I'm not sure where the 12 inches is coming from or if that would change every day. We'll find out. Hyperborean Lambert grabs your can of impetuous scofflaw and briefly puts into his ice-cold cooler. He hands it back to you and it's frigid enough to be extra refreshing. Nice! You gain 13 adventures. So typically, without any enhancements, the impetuous scofflaw is 5 to 7 adventures, I believe. Ode to Booze makes it 6 to 8 adventures, so that means the Cooler Yeti added about 5 adventures. The cost is kind of high though at 400 experience, because that's the full 20 pounds of experience, and it's only once per day. Now that I don't have the Cincho skill active, I'm going to try kicking my next drink up a notch. Okay, so a little bit of stats, not a crazy amount. Hyperborean Lambert exudes coolness, and your foe seems to lose some bravado. From behind his ice bar, just as it starts to melt, Hyperborean Lambert flips around some bottles theatrically and then tosses you a bottle in a mixer. You acquire an item grapefruit, you acquire an item bottle of rum. Pretty sure it was a bottle of rum last time too. I want to know if I can get vodka, because that's what all the other item of the month drinks need. Whiskey and a lemon, strawberry and boxed wine, there, olive and a vodka. But that took a lot of tries. And that was with size 1 drinks. I'm very happy he can give vodka though. Even if it is infrequent, that is more than the no vodka that I usually have in run right now. Bottle of gin and a grapefruit, strawberry and boxed wine. So the once per day skill looks like it added about 5 adventures to my drink, which was a size 1 epic. Maybe other drink sizes would give more. Maybe it's proportional or maybe it's a flat 5, I don't know. Can you make me look cool while I drink something? Gave me the effect looking cool, which is nice. 225 familiar experience is kind of steep for that though, and even the 400 familiar experience for the 5 adventures can be hard to get in run because there's a lot of different familiars that I'm trying to juggle for their various effects. It does help that the Cooler Yeti increases item drops, so that's good. Didn't you work at that cool ice bar? Seems to give all of the basic fruit and basic boozes. If only it just gave me vodka though. Because I forget how many basic boozes there are, but let's say there's 5 or 6. 1 out of 5 or 6 getting a vodka is not really worth 100 familiar experience, because I would have to level him up to 20 pounds and then maybe again in order to get 1 to 2 bottles of vodka on average. So that's not super great. And then kicking my next drink up a notch seemed to add experience to my next drink, which is nice. I appreciate that. But with the Burr brand mouthwash, I don't typically need experience as badly as I have in the past. So I don't know if I would use that one terribly often either. The cold resistance for every 11 pounds seems like it could just be a really silly way to pile on cold resistance early in an ascension by casting various familiar weight skills, perhaps using the prismatic beret in fact, so that you can increase your cold resistance enough to make the Burr brand mouthwash really count. Yeah, first impressions, I can see where the Cooler Yeti is going to help Ascension because of the synergy with the Burr brand mouthwash. So if nothing else, you can pull him out of the terrarium before you run any adventures, increase your familiar weight as much as you can to add the cold resistance to gain more experience from your Burr brand mouthwash. Cooling your drinks on demand, the familiar experience costs of those make them unaffordable in my opinion. I know that there's lots of ways to increase familiar experience these days. For example, for this unboxing video, I was using the quantized familiar experience from the Quantum Entangler. But in an Ascension, those kinds of resources can be hard to come by, especially if I'm trying to add weight to my chest mimic, for example, in order to get more copies of a monster. So I don't know if I will use those various strength skills, at least during an Ascension. Outside of an Ascension, once I've defeated the Naughty Sorceress, sure. I always like more adventures, so I would probably use the once per day skill if nothing else. And I'll be curious to find out if that scales with the adventure gain of the drink, or if it really is just a flat adventure gain. But either way, adventures are adventures, and I love that. Increases item drops from monsters, that's good. It means that I can use this as my familiar and not feel bad, feel like I'm missing out on drops, particularly during an Ascension. Weakens enemies is less useful for me, either in an Ascension or once I've defeated the Naughty Sorceress, because in both situations I'm usually over level, so I don't typically have a problem defeating enemies, so weakening enemies is just not that useful to me personally. Maybe useful to folks who don't have access to the mouthwash and are doing their best to pile on experience and levels and maybe fighting in zones that are a little bit past their current character level. So weakens enemies would be really useful for that. The familiar equipment isn't super useful. I might use it when I'm trying to pile on the familiar weight to the Cooler Yeti, when I use the mouthwash up front during an Ascension. Otherwise, the Toy Cupid bow seems like a better choice because it will help the Cooler Yeti gain experience and therefore give you access to more of the Cooler Yeti's skills. So I probably won't use the Gold Exchanger all that often. I like the Cooler Yeti. I think it's cute. I think it's a neat familiar to have now that we're heading into July, warmest part of the year in the Northern Hemisphere anyway. In the Southern Hemisphere, this may just be pouring ice on ice, I don't know. But I'm not so sure that I'll use him all that often. Time will tell, but I'll enjoy playing with him because he is quite adorable. Thanks very much for watching!